This is going to be a lesson on simple factoring. It assumes that you've done the simple factoring warm-up sheet, but if you haven't, you might be able to follow along on the lesson anyway. It does not matter if you've completed it. Simple factoring is called simple factoring not because it's easy, because it's easier than something called complex factoring, which you will not be learning in this lesson. So, as a warm-up, we're going to expand some things. So we're going to expand x plus 3 times x plus 5. We're going to expand x minus 2 and x minus 7. And we're going to expand, is it going to fit in? I'll have to push this up a little. And we're going to expand x plus 6 times x minus 2. Now, I'm just going to kind of jump to the answer. So you might want to pause the video and work through it yourself. But this one over here is going to become x squared plus 8x plus 15. And this will become x squared minus 9x plus 14. And this will become x squared plus 4x minus 12. And what we want to notice when we're expanding is if you look at this number over here, so first let's look at this over here. This is a plus 3 and a plus 5, right? So what we have here, we have these two numbers. We have a plus 3 and a plus 5. And if we notice that if we add these two numbers, it gives us that. And here we have a minus 2 and a minus 7. If we add minus 2 and minus 7, it gives us minus 9. And if we add plus 6 and minus 2, it gives us 6 plus negative 2 is positive 4. So it seems like the number in front of the x is what you get when you add the two numbers over there. Right, so this is what we get when we add. Add, and add. Now, similarly, 3 times 5 is 15, minus 2 times minus 7 is plus 14, 6 times minus 2 is negative 12. So what it means is it looks like this is what you get when you multiply. Multiply. So that's expanding. Now what I'm going to be asking you is I'm going to give you something like this. And I'm going to say factor this. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, this is in the form. We have our x squared and our 8x and our 15. So our x squared term, the x term, and the thing with term with nothing on it. So we're going to want things that add up to this and multiply to give us this. So add to 8, multiply to 15. So the way I'm going to think of that is I'm going to think of, okay, what are all the things that multiply to 15? So we have 1 and 15, 2 and 7.5, so that doesn't work. 3 and 5, 4 and doesn't work, 5 and we already have 5, so that's it. These are the only things that multiply to 15. Then 1 times 15, 1 plus, now we're going to see, so these are all the things that multiply to 15. Technically it could also be negative 1 and negative 15 and negative 3 and negative 5, but we're not totally there yet. So then what's going to happen is we're going to see, okay, what 1 plus 15 is 16, and 3 plus 5 is 8, and that's negative 16, and that's negative 8. And we want the one that adds up to 8, and the one that adds up to 8 is this one. So the winner is 3 and 5. So that's the one we want. So then the way we finally write our answer is we're going to say it's x plus 3 times x plus 5. And if you expanded that, that's the one we had over here, you would get back to x squared plus 8x plus 15. Right? So, let's do some examples. So x squared plus 9x plus 20. What we're going to do is we want to see things that multiply to 20. So it's going to be 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 3 and that doesn't work, 4 and 5, 5 and we don't have to write 5 and 4 because we've already done it. It's also the negatives, but we're not going to deal with it yet on this example. What do these add up to? They add up to 21, 12, and 9. We want things to add up to 9, so that's the answer. So this is going to factor into x plus 4 times x plus 5. So again, we're looking for something that adds up to this and multiplies to this. And notice we usually start off with the multiply thing. Let's do another one. X squared plus 11x plus 24. So I want things that multiply to 24. So 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and... If you're not sure what it is, you just take 24 divided by 1, 24 divided by 2, 24 divided by 3, 24 divided by 4, 24 divided by 5. That doesn't work, actually. And again, all the negatives, but we're not going to deal with that quite yet. And then we add these up, and we get those. And we want the one that adds up to, so it has to add up to this, and it has to multiply to this. So it has to add up to 11, so that's the winner. So that's going to be, we're going to write it as x plus 3 times x plus 8. Okay. So let's switch things up a little bit. Not much. X squared minus 6x plus 8. So we want things that multiply to 8. And this time I'm going to write the negatives because, yeah, we're going to need to. So it's going to be 1 and 8, and it's also going to be negative 1 and negative 8. And it's going to be 2 and 4, and negative 2 and negative 4. And 3 doesn't work, and 4 we've already done. So then we add these up. 1 plus 8 is 9. Negative 1 plus negative 8 is negative 9. 2 plus 4 is 6. Negative 2 plus negative 4 is negative 6. And we want something that adds up to negative 6. It's going to be this one over here. So then this factors into x minus 2, x minus 4. There we go. D. Let's put the negative in a different spot now. X squared plus 4x minus 21. So we need something that multiplies to negative 21. Now in order to multiply to a negative, it can't be both positive, it can't be both negative. We're going to have one positive and one negative. So it's going to be negative 1 and 21, or 1 and negative 21. 3, negative 7, negative 3, positive 7. So the negative kind of switches. One has to be positive, one has to be negative. 2 didn't work, 3 worked, 4 doesn't work, 5 doesn't work, 6 doesn't work. So that's it, actually. Negative 1 plus 20 is positive 20. 1 plus negative 21 is negative 20. 3 plus negative 7 is negative 4. And negative 3 plus 7 is positive 4. And we want the thing that corresponds to this one over here. So it's negative 3 plus 7. So that's going to factor into x minus 3, x plus 7. What letter was I on? I was on letter D, so we're going to be on letter E now. Let's say x squared minus x minus 30. So we need things that multiply to negative 30. And that's going to be 1 and 30. And I'm going to write it twice because I'll deal with the negatives after. 2 and 15. 3 and 10. 4 doesn't work. 5 and 6. And then we've listed them all. By the way, you don't have to go through this whole list. If you think you know what two numbers are going to give you the thing in the middle, you just go right to that. This is more of a situation if you're not good. So then it has to multiply to a negative, so one's negative and the other one's not. We start adding them up. Negative 1 plus 30 is positive 29 and negative 29. That's positive 13 and negative 13. 7 and negative 7. 1 and negative 1. Now what we have over here, you can't really see it because it's invisible, but there's an invisible 1. So it's, when I said x squared minus x minus 30, it was really x squared minus 1x minus 30. So we want things that add up. So remember, we always have to add up to the middle. They're going to add up to negative 1. So that's the answer. So it's going to be equal to x plus 5, x minus 6. Okay, 2 more examples, I think. That'll be good. Wait, what letter was that? That was easy. I messed that up. I feel like I did. Oh well. So we're going to do x squared plus 8x plus 16. So we need things that multiply to 16, and that's going to give us 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 3 doesn't work, 4 and 4, and then we're done. And it's only positive, so we don't have to worry about the negatives on this one. 1 plus 16 is 17, 2 plus 8 is 10, 4 plus 4 is 8. That's the winner. So it's going to be x plus 4 times x plus 4. And this is a little bit special because since they're the same, we're going to write it in the cool mathy way, which would be to write it like x plus 4 squared. And that is how you would factor this. And G. X squared minus 25. So we have to multiply to negative 25. And it's going to be 1 and 25. I'll write it twice because there's a negative. 2 doesn't work, 3 doesn't work, 4 doesn't work, 5 works. 5 and 5. And that's it. Well, I didn't really have to write this one twice. Negative, negative, negative. So negative 1 plus 25 is 24. This gives us negative 24. Negative 5 plus 5 is actually 0. And if I did this, that would be 0 as well, but it's the same thing. So I don't really have to worry about that. What are we looking for? We're actually missing the x term. It's invisible. So what happens is, another way of writing this would have been x squared plus 0x minus 25. So we need them to add up to 0. So this becomes x minus 5, x plus 5. And that is how you factor that one. Okay.